The following episode of Dad vs. Daughter was made possible by a contribution from Asmodee. Orbis from Space Cowboys and Asmodee is a tableau building game where you're going to take a tile from the middle, you're going to place it in your realm, and you're going to try to score points. Now, the game is going to be pretty fast. It's going to play over only 15 rounds, and at the end, you're going to try to get the most points, what they call creation points, more than the other players. So it plays fast enough that we can play it at lunch. So let me show you how the game is played, and then we're going to hear what Dad and his lunch group think of it. So as I said in the intro, Orbis is a tableau building game where we're going to be taking tiles and building out our pyramid. Now, we're going to start with an opening setup like this. Based on the number of players, that's going to determine how many of the god tiles that we have, and I'll talk about those in a minute. And it also, based on the number of players, will determine which ones of the temple bonus tiles that we're going to use. So on our turn, what we're going to do is we will always take a tile from the center here. Now, doesn't matter when in the game, we can only take one god tile, and we're going to be required to do that by the end of the game. So we'll get to those in a minute. So let's just say that I wanted to take this green tile. Now, let's talk about the tile for a minute. Now, up at the top has the cost. So I don't have to pay anything to take this. And you pay in worshipers. And I'll talk about how you're going to get worshipers in a minute. This will grant you 2 green worshipers whenever you take this. So you're going to take this tile and you're going to place it in your tableau. Now your tableau is going to start off, you can have 5 tiles in your bottom layer, 4 tiles in your next, then 3, then 2, and then your god tile goes on top. And I'll talk about the tableau building here in just a minute. But so after we've taken this and we've placed it in our tableau, we would collect, if there were any worshipers on here, we would collect all those and put them in our realm. Now, since I took a green tile, what I'm going to do is I'm going to populate worshipers on the remaining tiles for the ones that are adjacent. Only the ones that are orthogonal, not diagonal. So since I took a green, I will take green worshipers and I will place them in these spots because those were the ones that were adjacent. Then you'll notice down here at the bottom, I've got 3 stacks. We have level 1, level 2, and level 3. So you're going to use level 1 until it runs out, then you're going to use level 2 until it runs out, and then go to level 3. So we will flip this over, and that will go where that tile was that we took. Now it's the next player's turn. And let's just say that they decide they want to take this red tile down here. They will get 1 red worshiper, and they'll put this into their tableau, and they will generate red worshipers. Now they're only going to generate them on those 2 tiles, and then we'll flip another tile to take its spot. So let's say the game has progressed, and we're back to the player who had taken this red tile on their first turn, and they were able to get 1 of the red worshipers. So they have 1 of the red cubes. Now let's say they decide they want to take this green cube. They have a red to pay the cost, which is a red and a green. Now what they can do is they can take this tile and they can actually pay for the cost with the cube or the worshiper that is on that tile, and then they can add this into their tableau. The cubes that they use to purchase that then will go back into what they call the ether, or we just call the supply. And then because they took a green from here, they would take 3 green cubes and place those on each one of those. Take another level 1 tile and flip that over there. Now let's talk about some of the bonuses that you have on the tiles. Now I want to show this one off in particular because this is a farm, and you'll notice that it has the infinity symbol here. So whenever you take this tile and put it into your realm, you will be able to take this reduction tile for that color. So you'll notice that we have a little token for that. This means that for the rest of the game, this player no longer has to pay green for any of the tiles that they take as far as the cost. Now, there are some tiles that have a multicolored cost. Having these reduction tokens does not affect those. You'd still have to pay. But for any that have a normal green cost, you would never have to pay that. And you'll notice that there is a reduction tile for each one of the different colors of worshipers. Also, looking at this tile, you'll notice at the end of the game, this tile is going to grant you 1 CP, or creation points, which is basically your victory points in the game. Now, as we look at the rest of the tiles here, you can see this one gives a +1 green. This gives +2 blue, +1 blue, +2 white, +1 white, +2 red, +2 yellow. This one is a temple tile. Now I'll show you this. Now what this means is at the end of the game, each player is going to count up how many temples they have in their tableau. Whoever has the most is going to have first pick at taking the bonus tiles. Now, we told you at the beginning that's going to be based on the number of players. In a 4-player game, you're going to have tiles that are worth 2, 4, 7, and 11 points. So if you've got the most temple tiles of any other player, then you're going to take the 11, and the next person will take the 7, and so forth. So those will be used to calculate the score at the end of the game. You'll also notice that there is a number here. If there ever is a tie, that's where that number will come into play. Now, also looking at the tiles we have, this tile here is a volcano tile. You'll notice the red lightning bolt there. This is not a Harry Potter tile, and it has a 4 green. Now, what this means is when you take this tile, you will destroy 4 green worshipers that are in the realm here. So you'll notice that right now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can take the green worshipers from any of the tiles that I want, and those just get returned back to the supply. Now let's say that I could not, because there were not 4 green worshipers out there. If I was able to do it, I would get 2 victory points at the end of the game. But at the time that I take this, that's when this triggers. So let's just say that there were 3 green worshipers, and since I could not do it, what I would do is I would take one of these cancellation tokens, and when I put this tile into my realm, I would put this cancellation token on there to basically show that I'm not going to get those victory points at the end of the game. This is a forest tile. Now what this will do is this will give you 2 victory points, or CP points, at the end of the game if you are able to surround this tile with either 3 green or yellow, any combination of those. So it could be 1 green and 2 yellow, 2 yellow and a green, that sort of thing. And if you're ever able not to, then you would put a cancellation token on there. But otherwise, it would be worth 2 victory points at the end of the game. This is a village tile. It's where the village people live. And what this means is when you place this, you have to discard 3 worshipers from your realm in order to get the 3 points. Again, if you're not able to, you'd put a cancellation token on that. Now, I was talking about the number of worshipers that you have in your realm, where you would eliminate, or you would basically take those from your realm. You only can have up to 10 at a time. So one of the things that you can do is you can take any 3 and you can discard those, and you can get any 1 tile or 1 worshiper color that you want. And when you do that exchange, those worshipers have to be the same color. So I could say take 3 green and trade those in for 1 red. This is an irrigation token. You can see it's got the blue there. So basically you're irrigating to the tile that's underneath. You'd be able to get 2 points. So when you place this, if there is no green tile underneath, then you'd put a cancellation token over that. Otherwise you'd get the 2 points. And just to show you that there are different kinds of temple tiles out there, you'll notice this one has 2 of the temple symbols on there. And I didn't point out before, but the temple tiles have a question mark on there because you don't know how many points that will generate at the end of the game. Also, you look at the cost up here, you can see this costs 1 green, 1 blue, and then any 2 of any color. So the god tiles, you can see in the back of the rule book, there is a description of the god tiles. So I'm not going to go through what each one of them does, but I will show you up close what they do, or what they look like. So we have the goddess of love, the god of the oceans, which is kind of like a squid head. We've got the goddess of fire. You can see she wants volcanoes. We have the goddess of nature. We have the god of harvest. We have the apprentice goddess, and she has no requirements other than just grants 2 victory points at the end of the game. We have the goddess of idleness. We have the god of technology. We have the god of equilibrium. And then we got the spooky guy. He is the god of death. Let's say at some point during the game, you either can't pay the cost of a tile or you don't wish to. What you can do is you would still take all the worshipers off that tile, if there are any, and you would flip it over to the backside. Now this is called the wilderness, and you can see it's very barren and everything. You can also see that it has a tile symbol that shows all of the colors. That means, for all intent and purposes, this is a wild. But it's going to cost you -1 point at the end of the game. So you really don't want to try to get these in your tableau. However, it may be necessary because of the building rules. So speaking of the building rules, let's show you how to build your tableau. So at the end of the game, my tableau may look something like this. Like I had said before, you're going to have 5 on the bottom, then 4, then 3, then 2, and then finally you will place your God tile on the very top. So that's how it would look. Now I just talked about the wilderness tiles and how those act as a wild. So you'll notice that the building rules, I have to have at least 2 tiles underneath a tile in order to place it into my tableau. So I also have to have one of the colors underneath it that is equal to the color of the tile that I'm placing. So you'll notice that here I could place a green because I had 2 green underneath it. Here I could place a here I could place a white because I had a white or a blue underneath it. I could have placed a blue there as well. But as I build up, and let's say I could not have any other tiles because I didn't have a green or a white, I could make a wilderness tile and place it there. Now that allows me to place whatever color is above it because it's wild. So in this case, I could place a red or a blue above that. The one thing that you cannot do is you could not build, so let's just say, get that out of the way. I can't build like this. I always have to have at least a foundation of at least 2 tiles underneath. I also, when I'm building out my bottom row, I always have to place adjacent. Now, I could place here, I could take this tile and I could place it either on this side or this side, but I could never leave a blank space like that. So now that I've showed you how to play the game, let's see what Dad and his lunch group think of it. Orbis is a game that we've really enjoyed over lunch. It plays pretty fast. I will say there's nothing really special that sticks out about the game. It's actually very simple. You know, you're taking a tile, you're putting it in your tableau, you're paying the cost with your worshipers, and you're trying to get as most points as possible by trying to basically what they call validate, so that you can get those creation points or victory points at the end of the game. The rule book itself is pretty clear, and there's not really a lot to it. I will point out, I do like the fact that they put this on the back, the rules that you will eventually forget. So that's a nice little reference guide to have on the back of the rule book. The tiles themselves, the art on the tiles is actually pretty nice. It's, you know, they're nice and thick. All of the back sides, you know, look like the wilderness. And there's nothing wrong with that. It looks very bleak, and it's supposed to. But there's plenty of different styles that they have. You'll notice that not each of the greens have the exact same look, so you've got variety there. Plus, you have 10 of the God tiles, and you're only going to use a certain number based on the player count. Basically, whatever your player count is plus 1. So in a 4-player game, you'd have 5. In a 3-player game, you'd have 4, and so forth. I've not actually played this at the 2-player count. It does play 2 to 4. Most of the games I think I've played have always been 4-player, and I like that. It does scale because there are a number of tiles that you will take out based on the number of players. You'll notice that down at the bottom we've got like this black dot right there that shows you that these are always in use, but then you also have other tiles that have a white dot or a purple dot, so you'll always know which tiles to include in your game. Now I could see an expansion for this somewhere down the line, different god tiles, maybe even replacing certain of the other tiles that we have. And there's also a play mat that you can get. I know I've seen it online for sale for like $25. It's not needed, as you saw how I had this set up here. And 25 bucks is a little steep for the actual mat. The mat itself is kind of narrow, but it does have places for all of the tiles, places for the temple bonus tiles, the gods, and your draw stack. So if you really need it and you really like Orbis and you're going to play it a lot, and you don't mind splurging a little bit, yeah, you could get it. I'm still on the fence on whether I would pick it up or not, just like I said, based on the fact that you don't really need it for the game. So that is Orbis. I do recommend it. It's a nice, light, fast game. It's very accessible to everyone. I don't think anybody in the family would have any issues with playing it. So check it out, and we will catch you guys next time. If you would like to support us, you can visit patreon.com/dadvdaughter.
Like and follow us on Facebook to stay current on our show schedule, sneak peeks at future shows, and to interact with us.